usually do?
Right. No, this is because you strike me more as like more as a producer than you do a rapper. I think your production, I think, and at least, in my opinion of knowing you, production first.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. I've always been very um I mean I would say and this I mean this is such an interesting I really appreciate that compliment because I never look at myself as a producer first. I never looked at myself as a rapper first. Often I'm an actor first. That's kind of like
Yeah.
my first thing. And it's so interesting to me because I think intrinsically I don't really know how to enter a song unless I know where the rhythmic pocket is. If I can find like the chordal structures and the sound design of the pads and
Mhm.
guitar lines and piano line, like I need all of that stuff to be able to even find the lyricism.
You need chaos in
Yeah,
order to
yeah, to
find.
order it all. And
Right. You need chaos to be organized.
I extremely enjoy that process of like running. And somebody asked me the other day, like, hey, so like actually an animator for a new song that I'm working on, he was like, what's your process like? And I tell people all the time, like my process is changing weekly, day to day, like it's
Right.
never the same.
Right.
But I
That process question is like,
Yeah, it's a crazy, but it's interesting because I would say that the older that I've gotten, um, it's often that I make a production and then automatically while I'm making the drum pocket, I've already came up with the chorus
yeah,
lyrically. I found, oh, this like already I found
right.
some melody to go with that. That's not the chord structure that I want to do on keys or not like a guitar line or not the bass line. Like I've already found this part. Like, and even on this project, Crawl is a perfect example of it, where as soon as we had the drum pocket and we had the dun dun dun, I already heard the Coco Gotcha. I already heard it. Like it took 2 seconds and I was in it. I was like already in the record.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting. That's like a very interesting thing. The longer that I had this projects in the vault, I think Crawl and Diamonds kind
Yeah.
of crawled up to be my top favorites on it in comparison to God, which I love in its own right, and Prayers Up and
Yeah. Yeah.
Keeper Girl and Going Under. Like I love those three records, but the longer and it seems even after this project has came out and I'm talking to people
Right.
really love Crawl, people really love Diamonds, which I is surprising to me and relieving in another way because I didn't
Yeah.
know how people would react to any of this stuff. So it's
Do you
nice.
think that those were the two songs that are the quote unquote like the risks that you took on this one? Do those two seem like, or do you think that there are no risks?
I don't even know if there are any risks. I think if any of them were a risk, Paper Girl felt like a risk.
Interesting.
Paper Girl felt like a risk.
That
And
was my favorite.
yeah, and we can talk about that when we get to
Right.
it. That's
Well,
a very
I wanted to ask you about process because you kind of bring it up and you mentioned that like you started this project back in 2017. Well, it's coming
yeah,
out 5 years later. So that's a long time to work on an album. That's a long time to work on 5 songs.
yeah.
So talk about your process through this. It had to be uncomfortable for you taking so long to, you know what I mean, figure out that you were going to do this.
Yeah, it's the thing is like I said, I wouldn't even say that I wanted to have a lot of things established. There was a
Fair enough.
mentor of mine that um I was working at his studio at the time back in 2017. He had a previous version of the studio that I was working at.
In Queens?
Yeah, in Queens. And I was going over to his studio and I was showing him this project. And he
Right.
was obsessed with God. He was obsessed with Prayers Up. And I remember when I showed it to him, when I showed him this whole EP, he went, these four records from Crawl to Paper Girl sound like something that's supposed to be over there. Throw those away to another basket. God, we need to do a project that's just like God. And I had records. I still have records that are sitting in a vault right now that are very similar to God. But
Yeah.
I knew immediately that's not the single. Paper Girl is the single. That's what I argued to people. I was like, you don't understand, like, especially
Yeah.
because Paper Girl was my most rawest, um,
Yeah.
experimental idea of like, this is what I want my hip hop R&B musical theater Lin-Manuel Miranda meets J. Cole and John Bellion thing. Before I knew that, before I was able to go, hello, I'm Mr. Disney Dilla. Before I was able to do that, Paper Girl was that roadmap and blueprint.
Yeah.
And nobody would allow me or help me even to figure out turning at least Paper Girl into a single. Everybody would talk me out of it or say no or not give me the resources and help to figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
So it took until 2020 for me to do Paper Girl through People Say. Like when People Say came out, that all of a sudden opened a door where I was like, now I can do whatever I want, because the first thing that I put out, and it's not the first thing that I put out, but the first thing post Clive, post my professional development as a recording artist and musician, this first offering that I'm showing to you after my graduation, this is me. And now everything that comes after this, which, for example, was Hold It Down. Hold It Down is like God. Now you get to understand. I can do the mainstream hip hop thing, but I know I could easily do that. I could do the whole J. Cole, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, Bryson Tiller. I could go down that whole route for mad long. It's just that I'm not going to have as much fun taking you on that journey as I'll have fun taking you on stuff that's like Paper Girl, People Say, Paradox, For a Day. This brand new branch of genre with Mystic Blues. I want to go there.
Yeah.
I would
love to hear you. I would love to hear you on a Bryson Tiller vibe. I mean, that would be.
And those are coming. When I tell you those are coming, they can come now because.
But I think you had to make this one. I think you had to do this. I think you had to put Paper Girl out. I think you had to put Paper Girl out like more for yourself. It sounds like.
Yeah.
That was really a record for yourself. But we're not even there yet.